Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nothing at all funny happened today at all. Like,
Nothing. I
at all.
didn't miss anything.
Nothing at all funny happened today. Um, so, but with that being said, um, yeah, so it's Tuesday.
Yep.
So, Mystery Babylon. Um,
Hello, hello.
hey Digger, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Oh, there we go.
So like we're really getting into there's a couple things that I'm really excited to talk about because before we get started.
hmm
Um, one of them is the Olympics. So what's your take on the Olympics that I haven't
Oh,
talked to you since it happened?
I thought it was lovely. Um, Not the opening. The opening was horrendous, but I mean, it's no better or worse than what they do at this, CERN opening ceremonies. So I'm fairly certain you've covered that in the past, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't really surprised at the what they did with Paris. Um, I love the fact that people across the country and around the world said, "Fuck no, that's ridiculous. How dare you
Mhm.
do this?" And I also, more than anything, I love the fact that God is good and he has a sense of humor. And that's what keeps me going. We are fashioned in his image, and my goodness, he's got a sense of humor. That was brilliant, putting the power out across that whole city. Nothing
Mhm.
but that old church lit up for all to see. I think that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then media, of course, try to hide that.
Oh
We
yeah.
can't play any. We can't play any clips because they've been heavy on the censorship of it. But I will share this picture. Uh,
Okay.
people have people have said that this is a representation of mockery of the Last Supper. This is
Yes.
obviously my homie Jesus right here in the middle. Um, and you have a, let's just call her a
Yes.
lady because I don't know. Um, Followed by
Ve-
some drag queens and a random assortment of gay men
And children.
and children. There's a kid
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
Um,
Um, don't forget, yeah, that child, the gentleman on his left.
mhm.
Um, there's a later picture that he's standing with one leg up on a chair, it looks like, and he's got one of his testicles hanging out for all to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was heavy on the nuts. Uh,
Yeah.
Heavy, heavy, heavy on the nuts. Um, so
Wow.
I mean, again, I come at this from a different perspective. I'm not religious, and but I think this is an absolute mockery. And to say that there's not a direct one-to-one correlation of the two is, I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to think
Yeah.
that there's not a
Yeah.
correlation between the two. And
Exactly.
then you bring in the blue guy on the plate. Like, what the hell was that all about? Like,
I think he was supposed to be Bacchus. He
okay,
was the god of wine and merriment. Um, so
okay,
that I think that's who he was meant to be. I don't know if he was supposed to be blue once upon a time. I don't remember reading about him being blue, but that's the only thing I could figure with the vines in his hair, and he had a cup in his hand. The pictures that I
okay,
saw. So yeah.
huh? Yeah, it was very interesting to say the least.
Did
I
anyone
mean,
actually see it live? I couldn't be bothered because I knew it was going to be stupid. I had no idea they'd do this though, or I may have watched it.
yeah, I didn't watch it live. I watched it in what they call prime time here,
Okay.
because they replay it at 7:30, 8 o'clock our time, as a prime time
Right.
um deal. So I did watch it then, but other than that, no, I did not. I did not watch it live.
Wow.
Um,
Well, they had
yeah.
the head of Baal, Baal. That was the bull's head.
Hmm.
That's supposed to be Baal, who is one of the gods that um they used to worship in Babylon
Yeah.
before the tower and all that. So yeah, they went all out, and there is no way they can say that they didn't mean to. You
Yeah.
know, it's impossible. And anyone who can still say that they are not coming for the kids is either completely stupid and deserves a Darwin Award, or they're in on it. They want
Right.
to play with the kids too, because it's sickening.
Right.
New thing.
Uh, it's
Balls. Sorry.
yeah, there were a good amount of balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm typing. We should know this.
Oh, we know better. Yeah. But I do. I love the fact that God, in all of his glory and with the sense of humor that he has, was able to, just shut down that whole city, and nothing but a church lit up. That's just, it's beautiful. And I've got people saying, "Oh, well, it's the hackers because they were getting hacked and in here and there," and I get that. I get that there were hackers doing things in the background, and I'm sure it probably was hackers that organized it so that the power would go down. But who got them to have that idea, right? Who got them to think it would be a good idea to hack in and turn off all the electricity? And who how did they get the idea to do it at the time they did? And who decided that, well, you know what, let's just leave the church up? Like, these are a lot of little coincidences that had to happen in order for it to happen the way it did. And I see God all throughout that. So,
Well, on your previous point, I mean, they made a song.
We're coming for that.
yeah.
I'm not going to play too
Yep.
much of it, but it's
No, they'll
it's
probably
a gay
hammer
man's
you.
choir.
Yes, and it's their best known song.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm
So
pretty sure the blue dude is supposed to be Bacchus.
there's some
Pretty
balls
sure.
going on there too, though.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him later. Yeah, that's the ball I saw, the upper one.
Yeah.
But I saw an interview with the blue guy later, saying that he wrote this song, "What If We Were All Naked?" Because I guess that's the song he was singing or something. But
Okay.
if we were all naked, would war have happened? Because we'd have nowhere to hide a gun. Was basically the English translation.
Wow.
And that's why he's advocating for everyone to be nude. So, yeah, and he was complaining that it took hours and hours to put the blue paint on all over his body, and it took him and his friends even more hours to get all the blue off.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking, if that's, the only thing you have to complain about after pulling that stunt, I think you're pretty lucky.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think about this picture? The fourth horseman of the apocalypse.
The pale horse, yes.
Yeah.
I heard about it. I didn't see any pictures. This is the first time I'm seeing the picture. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
On water. Yeah.
Oh, it's walking on water even. Oh.
Before
Wow.
he got to the Eiffel Tower, yeah, he was walking on water across the lake.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they didn't mean to emulate anything Christian at all. Nothing. This was totally by accident.
Totally by accident.
Those wings are pretty freaking awesome, though. Are they attached to the horse?
I think they were attached to the horse.
That's pretty freaking cool. Like, from a makeup perspective, from a showmanship perspective, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, but it's very, very demonic, very, very hopeful.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, this looks like the cheerful summer games that I remember.
Exactly. Like, this is all about sportsmanship and fantasticness.
Yeah, but I thought Russia wasn't allowed in, but Israel was.
Correct.
how's that for fair and impartial?
Not just Russia. Russia was excluded as well as Belarus. Belarus is
Oh,
not actively at war with Ukraine.
oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, the Belarusians were also excluded from the Olympic Games.
Oh, so yeah, wow, wow, yeah. They didn't mean anything. I saw a picture of Macron and a bunch of other people in blue dress jackets. They had their hands crossed and their fingers, their pointy fingers, were touching each other's pointy fingers. I have no
Okay.
idea what that symbology means, but the fact that they were all doing it and there probably were 6 people, maybe 7 people in a row, and they're all doing it together with Macron in the middle. That it had to be some sort of symbol. I just don't know what it was.
That's interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
they take some weird pictures for somebody who's concerned about optics at every turn and plans out and looks for every opportunity to make a good optical image for the people that they lead. They do one hell of a job getting in some weird spots.
Yes. Yes, they
Really
do.
weird spots. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing when CERN's doing this and they're, the only reason they get busted is because someone has the smarts to record it, surreptitiously. But when they're doing this for the entire world, like this too, it just shows you how far along they think they've gotten into the plan that they can pull
Mhm.
this shit. And it's
Yeah.
also a great way for them to test the water and see just how far they can push. All of a sudden they're scraping it and erasing it from the internet. It's amazing. It's just like
Yeah.
they're erasing the Kamala was never named the border czar. They're erasing
Right.
every single clip of anyone calling her that. All of a sudden, like it never happened.
It-
Actually, Gemstone was saying here that he saw a short of Kamala saying she'd take the guns via an executive order if she wins.
Yeah. I saw that as well. Come and take it. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
You come by yourself. Right. Come get it. Come get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there is heavy censorship going on. I guess we can roll into that one next.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy censorship going on. If you type in, so there's been various things on X. If you type in Donald Trump, you get nothing but articles for Kamala Harris.
I've seen
you-
that.
Yeah. Type in assassination attempt on Donald J. Trump or Donald Trump, you get Donald Duck, you get Ronald Reagan, you get everybody but
Wow.
Trump. And I did both of them myself and showed the results. Not gonna stream my search results on Google though. That seems like a badly
Yeah.
advised way to go.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna do that. But try it for yourself. Let me know how you how you fare with that one. So they're erasing it from the history. So I went back, and we all know that I covered the assassination attempt within minutes of it happening.
Yep.
I don't look at strikes anymore because I don't really care.
Yep.
But I had heard that there was more censorship going on, and I went back, and the reason for my strike on the last video, the Donald
Yeah.
Trump shooting, is I was disinformation because I was portraying an event that did not occur.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors that they're trying to say that it never happened. But wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was actually being edited out. I thought that was just, hyperbole.
No, I mean it's being edited out pretty heavily, pretty ridiculously. So yeah, I mean, try it. Go to the Google and type in assassination attempt of president. You can get all the way through TRUM, and it will still come up with Truman. Like it does not come up with Trump. Truman is the only entry. So yeah, they're trying to completely whitewash it. Um, let me be first to predict Kamala Harris is going to win in November. I'm
No way.
convinced
You
of
think
this.
so?
Yes, 100%.
Well, then they're going to totally steal it again.
I think so. But I'm telling everybody right now, get prepared because Kamala Harris is going to win in November. And of course, it's not going to be fair. We had this debate, which moves us into the next topic. But I'm
Yes.
calling it today on July 30th.
Wow.
That Kamala Harris will win the 2024 presidential election.
Hey, Cool Frog.
What's up, Frog? And yeah, they're going to cheat like hell. So there's a conversation that I was having, and they said, why are you so sure? And I said, because you look at the poll numbers, and polls don't mean shit. Nobody gets called for polls anymore. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But if you can make it look close in a poll, you can steal it. If Kamala's down 20 points, you cannot steal the election. Like, it would just be too much to overcome.
Okay.
But if you get polls that even remotely make it close, she's going to win the election. And
wow.
As we're seeing, she's leading or very close in all of the polls currently. And I'm just telling everybody to prepare now because Kamala Harris is going to win the 2024 election.
That's very interesting because I've heard that it was decided at Davos that Trump would be the president. But then I also noticed that it took Obama, for just as one example, but it took him a little bit of talking to and pushing before he came out and stood for Kamala. He was not wanting to do it. I'm thinking that she, like her and the outright socialist Bernie faction of the globalists, the people really pulling the strings, I think they were fighting with the Obama, Biden, Clinton faction to see who could get the power. And it looks like it looks like Kamala won, which surprised the heck out of me because I was expecting to watch the Dems blow each other up over the next couple of months. But the fact that they were actually able to get everyone on board and behind her was really quite surprising.
Yeah. I think that there's some serious concern with all of that. I think that it's very interesting where we sit and where we're at. That's why they had to get rid of Biden. Even normies and boomers wouldn't believe in the fortification 2.0 in November. Yeah, I completely agree, JK. Completely agree. And now they can get poll numbers that are close enough so that they can. I mean, just look at this. I mean, presidential election tied in Michigan, leads in Minnesota, tied in Pennsylvania. 1 point in Wisconsin.
Are they really?
It doesn't matter. So I think that there's a couple things that are unique about America and then a couple things that happen everywhere. So a couple things that are unique about America is you can literally, and we've seen this, put up a dead guy and you can get 40% of the vote. There are 40% baked in for either side. Yeah. So your Republican side's always going to get 40. Your Democrats are always going to get 40. And that remaining 20 is what really decides it. That's what really decides it. And when you have tech media and everything on the blue side, of course, you're going to sway percentages of that. You only need 10%. You need 10.1%. And I think when you have that much in your pocket, then you sway that percentage. I think that another thing is another conversation we've had. MSM is pushing her harder than they did for a bastard. Yeah. So wife's a Democrat, and obviously has all of those, different things, news articles and all that. And she says every single thing is Kamala Harris. every ad, everything.
Yeah.
Like, there is no escaping her at
Yep.
all. None. So,
I believe
like,
that's probably right, Peggy. If she wins, they'll remove her for whoever the VP is to step in.
probably.
Yeah.
I
But
wouldn't.
yeah, my phone is liberal and my PC is conservative, and it is very interesting to see just the difference between the news and how hard they push their own agenda.
Yeah. And I still think they try and eliminate Donald Trump. I still think they eliminate Donald Trump.
Apparently, Secret Service message leaked that there will be another attempt within the next 30 days.
Oh, I'm certain. I'm certain of it. I knew it wasn't. I told everybody this. I knew it wasn't going to be Milwaukee. Heck, every ad on YouTube is Kamala. It's sickening. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So there's. Don't you want to be unburdened by what has been? Well, it's about the passage of time. So, there. Shit, I completely lost where I was going. But yeah, I mean, your entire media apparatus, you've all but gotten rid of the fact that Donald Trump was attempted to be assassinated. There you go. There we go. Trump assassination. So I knew it wasn't going to be during the RNC. So the RNC, obviously, heightened security, much more difficult. It would have taken a monumental undertaking to get there. But now, as we start to see things kind of slip back into normalcy, I think you'll see another attempt. And it could be back in Butler, Pennsylvania, because Donald Trump announced that he is returning to the site where the assassination attempt was, to do another rally. So,
he's really, he's testing things. Like, why push it?
Donald Trump knows he's going to die. He knows he's going to die. And he's willing to do so.
I'm still 50-50 on whether he's a good man or whether he's fully controlled by the faction. I have always leaned towards the idea that he is under the control of the our family, under their faction's control. But I can't see a man with an ego that size willingly allowing himself to be killed.
Yeah.
If they kill him, I don't think he'll have anything to do with it. I don't think. I think it'll be his hubris, his ego that gets him killed. But I don't think he expects to die. Honestly, I think he thinks he really is Teflon Don.
I think that he's prepared to die. I think that he thinks, and maybe rightly so, he thinks that God is on his side. I think he had some real spiritual kind of undertakings on that floor after he was shot. I think that was a serious change in his life. I think he's making some of the same mistakes that he made the first go round with personnel. But I don't think he's perfect by any means. I don't think he's great. I think he's the best option we have, and he's a pretty decent dude. So
me too. And I mean, he's always been America first, and that's part of what I like about you. No matter who's pulling his strings or if anyone's pulling his strings, he's fine. It seems he's okay with the globalization, but he needs to make sure that America is going to be on top. America is going to be in control, and this constitutional republic is going to be the way of the globalist. I think that's what he really believes. Um, whether he can do it is another thing. Like I said, I don't know whether people are really pulling his strings or not. So I don't know, but I'm very surprised that you're thinking that Kamala has a chance.
No,
So
I 100% think she's going to win. This is what's happening at Kamala's right now because the media apparatus wasn't enough. This is a couple minutes ago.
oh, lovely.
Megan Thee Stallion is performing for Kamala.
Oh, good.
So,
Wow.
yeah, Hotties for Harris is the new campaign slogan, and it's trending everywhere. And
Hotties for
not
Harris.
official, but
Oh no.
yeah, it's trending everywhere. Hotties for Harris. So,
Oh my.
I guess Cucks for Harris didn't fit so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Linda, nothing happened earlier. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I missed absolutely nothing today. Nothing happened that had me running
Yeah.
around searching to try and catch up.
Nothing at all.
Gemstone,
Nothing.
you're not wrong. Benevolent sacrifice. They did it with JFK, right?
I
They
think
need
his
the one
heart's
that
in the right place.
believes. Yeah.
I don't think he's a great guy. Like I don't think he's like I wouldn't compare him as some have to like Jesus. Like I just like that's no,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's flawed like everybody else.
Yeah.
And but I also think that his heart's probably in the right place, and I think he actually does care about the country.
Yeah.
And I think he's just independent enough to make it worthwhile for us.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I've said all along that Trump's everyone's best option, best hope for getting somewhere back on track.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, crossing fingers.
The Kamala clan. Yeah. That.
Ooh.
God, we should make like robes or something for that.
You know what? I bet she'd look really great in a hood.
Like some pointed hats or some shit.
Yeah. I don't know. Do we want to see her face though?
I'll text Brian and see if he wants to go to a Harris rally with me.
Oh, did you see the dude who went to a it was like a thing. There was Trumpers on one side, Biden's on the other side, and he wore a Biden shirt in the Trump side through their crowds and vice versa. That was hilarious. That showed perfectly exactly where people stand. It's I don't understand how normies haven't caught on and don't see it yet.
Well, I mean, so that takes us to the next point. And I had this discussion with somebody else that was in the Discord and that has conversation with me in there, and really good conversations, as you know. And he said, there's no way that many people can vote for Kamala Harris. And I said, well, partially you have your built-in 40. And we take somebody like Venezuela with Maduro. We watched that live, and this individual said, there's no way that he got that. And I said, he probably got pretty damn close. Like, I think, again, they probably cheated. And if you look at the tally, the total number, it was off by about 9%. They had 109% turnout.
Wow.
Kind of like Detroit. But you had 109% turnout. So how does that happen? But
yeah.
I think more likely than not, most of you have a lot of really unintelligent people on this planet, unfortunately, and we interact and have have things with them every single day. And then on top of that, you have people that are just so status quo or so built into, nope, we're gonna keep Maduro because that's what's stable. That's what's going to be here. And I don't think he won. And there's no indication that he won.
I saw
test
videos of the police officers taking off their uniforms and joining the protesters.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be interesting to see how that all shapes out. But we were watching it. We were watching the Maduro speech live, and really tested my Spanish because I'm not that great at it. But I was able to translate for everybody while we were watching the speech. So
That's good.
I think
Yeah.
I did an all right job. And but yeah, I mean, it's when I die, don't let me vote Democrat. Will not. Will not.
That's awesome.
81 million votes does not equal 81 million people. Correct.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see something very similar this go around. Like you're going to see some anomalies. You're going to see they couldn't, or they didn't have to as much in 2020,
Mhm.
but they figured out what they did wrong.
Yeah, they learned from that one.
Right. They learned how they screwed up in 2016. They had 2020 to be able to do it. And they cheated, but probably not as
Not
much as
quite.
they would have needed to. I don't know. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see how we're going to be going forward. And no, I think that certainly Kamala Harris is going to be number 47.
Wow.
And scares the shit out of me. I don't want to. But yeah.
You guys are going to start running across the border over here.
Again, take a look at Venezuela, and
yeah,
that's probably what's going to happen here. So if Harris gets in, because there's no doubt it's going to be cheating, but it's not going to be as much as you would think they need to. I think they're still going to get that 42 to 45%, even without the cheating. They just need that 1 or 2%, and I think he'll get it. So,
wow. I honestly, up until this moment, I had no thoughts of anyone other than Trump being president. I figured since they fucked up the assassination, I figured that was it. He would be in. I didn't think there was a chance in hell that Kamala could get it.
Yeah, I always cautioned everybody. I thought it was going to be closer, and I was leaning Trump after the assassination attempt, but I really feel strongly that Kamala Harris is going to win, based on everything I've seen, heard, everything. I really do. I really think she's going to win. Not legally, not
honestly,
reasonably, but yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for. But
yeah.
I do think she's going to win based on trends and based on the way things are going.
Yeah. I don't know nuclear. I'm sorry. I hate Trudeau. I really do. Well, no, that's not true. I don't hate anyone, but I really dislike what he's done to my country. But I think Kamala will be worse. I think she can do a lot more damage because she has a bit more intelligence in her. Trudeau's been raised with the silver spoon and told what he's going to do and how he's going to do it since birth. She's got to have had at least somewhat of a brain to know whose cocks to suck at what time to get the job up that she needed, right? Like she has managed to become vice president.
True.
That's pretty brilliant for someone who has done the things that she has done. And I'm not talking about the heels up rumors. I'm talking like her things she did as attorney general. Yeah, she's got brains. She's a lot more dangerous than Trudeau will ever be, I think.
Yeah. I think Trump will win. Real, actual human beings hate Kamala more than you think. It's not real, actual human beings that I'm worried about. And again, you have the vote blue no matter who. You have, Act Blue, all these things where you could literally put up a dead guy and they would still vote for him. We saw
Yeah.
that in 2020.
Yeah.
Biden did probably realistically get about 70 million votes, based on how you look at it and how you looked at how they cheated. It's probably a little bit higher than that. It's probably realistically in the 74, 75 million vote totals. And and I think that number is going to continue to increase. So I hope I'm wrong. But I also see everything that's going on. I see the censorship. I see the full court press. I see
Yeah.
every single place you turn is Kamala and something good about her. So
Yeah. No, that's it's crazy. Yeah, wow. I thought that everyone hated her too much too. Um
I'm
but I
planting
see
my
what you're
flag
saying. I see what you're
right now.
saying, and I can totally see how that would happen. Um
Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
I don't want it to happen. I'm just
No,
telling you what's going to.
what you
So,
see. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's and I mean after they're doing what they did to get Biden the seat, I mean, I know that
yeah.
they're capable of it.
Well, I
So,
mean, so they're going back through. I don't know if you saw so Joe, his Supreme Court reform includes him being able to overturn
sitting.
their presidential immunity ruling. So,
Yeah, but
um,
how are they able to affect the Supreme Court? The whole point of the Supreme Court is to protect the Constitution at all ends, no matter what. How
who's going to
are they
stop him? The
supposed to
Supreme Court? Like,
Well,
your
yeah.
challenge comes from the Supreme Court, and if he's usurping the Supreme Court, then who's going to stop him?
Well, and fuck. That's when you guys have to stand up,
Right. So
which is exactly what they want.
right, which is exactly what they want. So,
Yeah.
so there are three phases to it. One is overturning the ruling that they just put out for the presidential immunity. The second portion of it was I'm trying to remember exactly the wording. The second portion of it was term limits not to exceed X amount of years.
Mhm.
So you would have, I don't know if that means appointment or election, but term limits for justices, and there would be a process, basically for the president to remove justices on code of conduct violations, and that was the three
Wow.
stipulations on his Supreme Court reform. So, one was overturning the recent ruling that gave presidential immunity, the second term limits, and the third was to be able to remove them based on a professional code of conduct.
Okay, but how does he he can say this, but the SCOTUS doesn't need to accept it, right? So who wins when the two that are put in place to keep the others in check? What happens when they're fighting? Do you not have a safe?
Well, it would go to Congress. Realistically, I mean, you would think it would go to Congress, but the check on the executive is SCOTUS. So
Yeah.
if SCOTUS is completely nullified because of the actions of the executive, it should be the SCOTUS that puts him in check. But
Yeah.
what's to say he's actually going to listen to the recommendation? I mean, you come down to that thing where they say, and they say it all the time, it gets kind of old, but constitutional crisis. Well, it truly is. We've never faced it. There's no carve out. There's no way to go with this. There's no enforcement arm past SCOTUS, because we've always respected SCOTUS.
Yeah. So. Wow.
SCOTUS should, but again, what's their enforcement arm? So their enforcement arm is going to come back to. It would be a significant constitutional question that I think would would have some significant issues.
Wow.
I mean,
I was saying the other day, we need like 5 uncivil laws on your Supreme Court. Like, let's just get 5 Kurt's on there because he can look at a thing and he can look at it directly and he can take the emotion out of a thing and the people and just boil it down to law. And someone like that, you need a bunch of them right now to protect that thing. Because I
we
never
have
really thought about it. I never thought about the fact that who is the arm of SCOTUS if they disagree with the president. I never thought about it.
right. Because SCOTUS is supposed to be a check on the president. So, and you have the executive, and then judicial, and then you have Congress and the legislative. But Congress is only there to so your check should be president on SCOTUS and SCOTUS on president.
Yeah. But
So,
when they're fighting each other,
right,
the president's got the military, right?
exactly. I mean, the president would have. I would think the president would win that.
Yeah.
Just based on pure power and pure strength of the branch. I'm not saying that's how it should be, but I think that's probably where it would lean, which is unfortunate.
Holy
So,
Hannah.
yeah.
May we live in interesting times, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
That was my favorite saying, but I'm starting to think I should have had it tattooed on me or something. This is nuts.
Yeah. And then the last thing that we'll get to real quick. Obviously there's a lot going on in Israel. I know that's a contentious topic. Israel bombed Beirut, Lebanon today in retaliation, which is going to a certain leader, Netanyahu, just addressed Congress saying we should attack Iran. And, we're zooming there pretty damn quick. 2 days later, 3 days later. So,
wow.
So yeah, that situation in the Middle East is really kind of heating up. And we shall see. We shall see what the outcome is of that. It's still too early to really make a prediction on where that's going to go. If it's just going to be another lob back and forth, but that one's been very contentious. Having that discussion, so we'll just brush upon that lightly right now. So,
okay.
I know people are very strongly entrenched on both sides.
Yeah.
I've been leave me out of both of them. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think every country in the world should just back off, turn their insight towards themselves, and fix themselves, and then we can worry about helping each other fix everyone else, right?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So we'll see how everything shakes out there. There's also some riots in the United Kingdom this evening.
Yes.
Because of a knife attack and some allegations of corruption. So the whole world's on fire, and most of that is because of this whole Mystery Babylon thing and the powers that be. So
that's all about the people pulling the strings at the very, very top. We don't know their names. We don't know, just who they are, but they're there because we see their actions. It's kind of like the Bible. We're lucky in that we're in the end half of the Bible. So we've got all of the Old Testament, all of those prophecies that we can look back to and see they've come true. So it's easier to believe. And it's the same way here. We can look back in history and we can see what happened in history, and we can see that these people really do exist and they really do work through the different secret societies and whatnot. But they've really have been controlling the way the world has gone for generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years, So it's quite cool. We can look back on it, but now that we're looking back on it, we need to do something about it too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and again, I'm getting better at the segue back into the topic shit because that was pretty good. But like, at what point? They're obviously at a point where they think the plan is working. We just gave examples of it. The Olympics were probably the most blatant fuck you to the rest of the population.
yes,
But we're starting to see more and more of them, and we live in interesting times, and I think that we're gonna end this process, or it's gonna overtake us. I think that's gonna happen in our generation. I think it's gonna happen when we're on this planet.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's us Gen Xers and those first few millennials. We've got to do something. We've seen the problem. We've known it's a problem, and we're finally all of an age and in positions to do something to fix the problem. And it's up to us to actually do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, very interesting times. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and start playing tonight's episode. What shit? We didn't even get into this yet. William Morgan interview.
Yes.
And I see a Masonic handshake and kind of them acting out the little ritual there. So I assume he was a high-level Mason, or
I will give you a quick little rundown. He was born in 1774. He disappeared in 1826. He disappeared and he is presumed murdered. Ignited a powerful movement against the Freemasons, a fraternal society that had become influential in the States. He had announced his intention to publish a book exposing Freemasonry, and he got arrested and suddenly disappeared. So the book was never written. And of course, the lore is that the Masons got to him and knocked him off before he had a chance to write his book.
Huh.
So yeah, he his disappearance sparked the public outcry and inspired Thurlow Weed and others to harness and the discontent by founding the Anti-Masonic Party in opposition to Andrew Jackson's Democrats. So kind of interesting. He's he's had a whole lot of knowledge in his head, kind of like Bill Cooper actually had a whole lot of knowledge in his head, and suddenly he disappeared, presumed dead. Cooper, they tried to get him to, only got his leg. Second time around, they succeeded. But yeah, same thing. Get rid of the guy who has all the knowledge, so the knowledge can't get passed on.
Right. Well, I mean, that's anybody who can challenge gets eliminated.
Yep.
I do have to show this edit real quick because this is pretty. This is not yours, Stingy, but this one's pretty. This is pretty fucking good. Like.
Oh my. Oh wow. Yep.
Hunter at the Megan Thee Stallion concert that turned into a
Hose for Harris.
Yeah.
Wow.
She is one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Let's find out how the Freemasons took out probably one of the first real whistleblowers, I'll say.
Sounds good.
Or at least, one of the first ones to make waves enough for us to know about.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah, I'm good to go if you are.
All right, sounds good. It's not Lizzo, damn it. Lizzo's like 6 of Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
But
yeah, at least she's good looking. I mean.
Yeah. All right. We'll start.
Okay.
All right, I promise. One more, and then I'll stay off Twitter for the rest of the show.
Okay.
Dear Putin and Xi, y'all free to fire them nukes whenever you're ready. I'm starting to think humanity might get our ass caught up.
Wow. Yeah. Well, they've got their nukes. Russia's got nukes in Alaska now too, apparently, or at least Russia and China are trying. So
right. There's some off our southeast too. So
yeah, nice and close to me. So that way we feel like we're, kind of involved in the world events, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not just you guys on the East Coast getting the fun.
All right, we'll go now.
You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm your host, William Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to have as my special guest today William Morgan, who is one of the members of the Citizens Agency for Joint Intelligence and has been for some time. Now, that's all that we can tell you about his identity. You will hear from him his own story, what he's been doing, how he's been doing it, what kind of information he has collected for our organization, for the citizens of this country and of the world. And we're going to talk about, well, I guess you just have to call it undercover operation. This man has been undercover for the Citizens Agency for Joint Intelligence. And I remember several episodes of the show before, sometime during the series that we call the Mystery Schools, which we've done, I believe, 19 hours of broadcasting covering that subject. I told you that we had infiltrated the lodge, the Mystery Schools, Mystery Babylon. In fact, we have not only infiltrated it once, but many times in this country and in lodges around the world. So the information that we're giving you on the Mystery Schools is not conjecture. It does not come from a bunch of people sitting around making up information. It comes from the books printed by the Mystery Schools themselves. It comes from our members who are actually in the lodge, and we double check everything that they bring to us. Please welcome to the Hour of the Time, William Morgan.
Thank you, Bill. You can call me Will, and I really appreciate that gracious and honorable introduction.
Well, we're certainly appreciative of everything that you've done. Tell us, Will, how long have you been associated with the Mystery Schools?
For over 2 years now. I became a Mason in June of 1991.
And what happened? I mean, how did you ever even know about Freemasonry?
At first, before I was exposed to your information, I was under the impression, as most people are, that they were a philanthropic organization dealing mostly with charity or possibly even in some way associated with unions. And as most CAGI members have come to know, that is entirely not the case.
Did you have friends who were Freemasons?
Yes, I worked with somebody who was a Freemason, and I've come to find out that that is usually the most common way that a person is exposed to the craft as they call it.
So they call it the craft amongst themselves. This is not something that the public is normally aware. What does the craft mean? What does that term mean?
Well, they consider themselves craftsmen because they're building something. And there have been many organizations throughout history with the incredible similarities to the present modern cult of Freemasonry that have called themselves builders, common scenes. They've associated with themselves always with the erection of a structure or the building of something that people just do not understand. We've come to understand that what they are erecting is the New World Order, and they've been working on it for thousands and thousands of years.
That's correct. Now, did your friend or friends try to proselytize you or talk you into joining the lodge?
No, not at all. I must admit I did go to them, and I was not entirely aware of the nature of their organization or of what was in store for me when I became a member, or brother, as they call it.
Now, if you had not joined CAGI, would you still be sort of in the dark about the true meaning of Freemasonry, or do the members really learn the truth about the organization during their period of time there?
Had I not joined CAGI, I would be as empty-headed and as trusting as sheeple as most of the Freemasons in America and across the world are today. They are not taught what the craft is about. They do not question authority at all. They, as a rule, and from my personal experience and observation, they obey the rules without question and to the letter.
Now, a lot of people out there are going to wonder, and I know that Freemasons are going to bring this up, that if you didn't learn what you now believe that you know about the mystery schools in the lodge, how do you know that what you've learned while you become a CAGI member, how do you know that that is true?
Well, because I can verify for myself. I can get up and check the facts and look again to verify what is going on about the mystery schools. But for what the Masons claim to be, they have absolutely no proof or evidence or even works of their own hand to prove that they are actually involved in charity work.
Now, when you began to study, you were studying actually from two sources. You were studying the mystery religion in the lodge, actually, and you were studying what you were learning from the Citizens Agency from Joint Intelligence and trying to rectify the two or bring the two together and make it fit. When did you finally decide that what you were learning in the lodge was really a deception?
The absolute clincher for me, what absolutely decided for me beyond a shadow of a doubt, and yes, I had my suspicions since I had very first become a member. You don't take blood oaths, kneeling before an altar, swearing yourself to secrecy for all time without without the group that you're becoming a member of being suspect.
But you did take these blood oaths.
Yes, sir. I took all of them, and there were many.
And so by the time you reach the degree level that you are at now, you've taken approximately how many oaths?
I don't even recollect. I know that there were over 24 oaths before you can even become a master mason in a blue lodge of Freemasonry, which is a bit like primary school for Freemasons. The blue lodge is where they are brought in as new members from off the street, and most men who are involved in Masonry for their lifetimes consider the Blue Lodge to be the heart and soul of Masonry, because that is where it all begins and that is where it all grows from.
But isn't it true that many Masons never advance beyond the third degree and remain in the Blue Lodge forever?
That is absolutely true. Whether or not they do not choose to go forth, or whether they're totally unaware that there's anywhere to go, is up to personally the Mason that's involved, but many of them stay right where they're at and seem to be content with what they have.
So these Master Masons who claim that they know everything about Freemasonry and that they've been a Master Mason for 20 years, do they really know anything?
They know absolutely nothing. They have been completely deceived from the very first day they entered the lodge. They have been lied to regularly about the nature of the craft, the work of the craft, and the charity of the craft. My own lodge that I'm a member of considers its charity work for the entire last year to be the donation of $100, which is a little more than the dues yearly for 3 members. They gave $100 to a needy family, and through these very, very shallow and superficial acts, they consider themselves to be one of the greatest charity and brotherhood organizations ever to walk the face of the earth.
A recent thorough investigation of the Shriners, who have literally made their reputation upon the fact that they contribute tremendous amounts of money to charity, but the investigation disclosed that of all the money they take in, less than 3% actually goes to any charity. Were you aware of that?
No, actually, I was not. I'm not a member of the Shrine, but I have been exposed to some of their numbers. I was hoping that it would at least be a little bit higher than that, because that says bad things about the Masons who are members of the Shrine. And as most people know, the Shrine is probably one of the largest quote-unquote charity organizations that there is.
And one of the richest. But most of the money seems to go back into the lodge or to the members or to the retirement funds or to the payment of the lodge officers. And this is something else people don't realize, that the lodge officers are paid and they have a retirement fund set aside for them. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. Now, this doesn't apply directly to all officers of the lodge. I myself am an officer of the lodge that I was indoctrinated into. Duly elected member. They operate in that kind of manner with elected officials that serve 1-year terms. But there is an exception to this rule, and that is the secretary and the treasurer. And the secretary keeps the books, and the treasurer keeps the money. And that points a very big finger as to where the true power in every lodge lies, because these two gentlemen who held these offices usually hold them for years and years and years.
And they're not elected, and they're not accountable. Is that correct?
They are totally unaccountable. The treasurer will give a one budget report at a certain time during the year, and I listened to this report not 2 months ago. And if an accountant in the business world attempted to give such a superfluous report to his boss, he would be fired on the spot.
Now, just so our listening audience realizes that you're not just some yahoo who walked in off the street and went through the first degree and are now on a radio program trying to tell them you know something about Freemasonry. What is the level of your status or your degree, or how high have you progressed through the initiatory levels?
It's not exactly something that any thinking individual would like to brag about, but I have shot like a rocket up the ranks of Freemasonry. Much like in America, excuse me, today, the Masons like to keep their members busy. They don't want to give them time to think about what they're doing, and they don't want to give them time to think about where they're going. They do this by ritual. All of Masonry is tied up in ritual, and you must memorize this ritual, and it is very, very extensive. Each office has its own whole slew of ritual to remember. But I worked hard. I've got a good memory. I rose through the ranks, and I'm now a 32nd degree Mason of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Southern Jurisdiction, United States of America.
And this is the same branch of Freemasonry that Albert Pike belonged to, that created the Ku Klux Klan, the B'nai B'rith, and the branch off the B'nai B'rith called the ADL, or Anti-Defamation League. Is that correct?
Absolutely true. Albert Pike is considered to be a demigod among Freemasons, and actually a source of light all of his own. He took the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which did exist for some time before him. He took it after the Civil War and turned it into what it is today. He incorporated much of the pagan symbology into the degrees that are still used and practiced today. His name is revered. I've seen a bigger than life-size bust of complete bronze of Albert Pike that was created for $25,000. Some of that money was mine, by the way. They treat him next to godhood in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry.
Were you aware that Albert Pike was in constant communication and in concert with Giuseppe Mazzini in creating, not only creating, but Albert Pike at one time was the sovereign grand commander of all Freemasonry in the world, and operated in concert with Giuseppe Mazzini in control of what we now know is the world body known as the Illuminati?
The name Mazzini is familiar to me, and I have come across its connection to the Illuminati in my research, but no, I was not personally aware, and this comes as no surprise, because with the exception of my own personal research, most of my information comes from the archives of the lodges I have participated and visited, or from Freemasons themselves, and all information is questionable at best. Never once, with the exception of one word, have I heard any reference to the Illuminati, and yet my own research points exactly in their direction for the true source of the Masons' power and the reason for their concealment. But no, I did not know about Mazzini.
Do the members of the lodge consider themselves to be illumined?
All of them do. Without even knowing the definition of the term, the true definition of the term, they consider themselves illuminated. They go around, they have that secret little smile, and they generally talk, no, not generally, they always talk down about most of the other people in the world. And I've even heard grown men refer to fellow Americans, brothers, as profane, simply because they had not advanced through the ritual of Freemasonry.
I remember a friend of mine who was a young man who was not a member of the lodge, but his father was. And he had a friend who belonged to another family who was not a member of the lodge, but owned a small business in town. And his small business was being destroyed by the members of the lodge simply because he was not a Freemason, and the business was going to members or lodge brothers. And he asked his father why his friend's family was literally being destroyed by his father and others who professed to be members of a fraternal organization existing for the benefit of the community. And his father told him, and I'll never forget this because it literally crushed my friend. His father told him this, quote, "If you are not one of us, you are nothing," unquote. Is this generally true? Is this the way Freemasons generally think about people who do not belong to their organization?
I have personally seen Masonry interfere with family ties before. And yes, this is just how they look at the world. They consider the world to be profane, unilluminated, and this just goes hand in hand with the general attitude that is conveyed by all Masons, that they are on their road to their own form of godhood, and this manifests itself in severe racism. For all the people out there that may not be too familiar with Masons or Masonry, and this especially goes for members of minority groups who have often and usually continue to be excluded from Masonry, and especially for women, I'm here to tell you that you are not welcome in the lodge. You never will be, and you never have been welcome to the lodge. This especially goes for blacks, in spite of the Prince Hall Masonry, which is the biggest joke and the biggest scam and the biggest insult to any single race I've ever seen, and especially for women. They do not want you, and they consider you totally ineligible and unable to understand what they do.
You told me something the other night that I found just incredible. You said that you could go to any Prince Hall Lodge in any black community and the doors would be open to you and you'd be welcome. But if one of those members or brothers of the lodge or the Prince Hall Lodge came to your lodge and tried to come in and participate in the ceremonies or whatever you call them, what would happen?
It wouldn't happen. It just simply wouldn't happen. I, as a Caucasian Freemasonry, can visit any Prince Hall Lodge in the country and, as far as I know, in the world. I can also visit any lodge, period, across the world. I've been told through my initiation that I am welcome in any lodge, but this just does not apply to blacks. No matter that, even if the ritual that they go through, and I do not know this for certain, but I know it's similar. But even if the ritual were exact, even if the same form of quote-unquote illumination that they underwent was exact, they could not ever, and I sit in a lodge with Caucasian Freemasons. I've never seen a black Freemason sit in a lodge among Caucasians, and I don't think I will. Equal opportunity and affirmative action laws are just completely ignored and considered frivolous and a joke by all Freemasons.
So the New World Order that they're bringing into being is going to be racist.
Entirely. It has an Aryan background, and that is where it comes from.
And that's been borne out by our research. Why then would the black community form their own lodges and support the bringing about of a New World Order that is going to relegate them back into slavery? And I might add, along with the rest of us who don't belong to this religion, and it is a religion, why would they participate in something like that?
Well, as you've told me yourself, and most people will understand this, the world loves a mystery, and you can control the masses by dangling a secret like a carrot in front of their nose and promising them the answer to that secret if they just merely do what you say and work for you. This, together with man's own entirely fallible human nature and the selfishness of man and the ego of man, they want to be something. They want to be better than the people around them that they see. And since they have been told straight out that they can never advance to the ranks of Caucasian Freemasons, they have settled for just being better than their own people and excluding other blacks from joining their own lodge.
So one of the holes that Freemasonry has over people is that ordinary people, whether they be black, white, Oriental, Hispanic, doesn't matter, they want to be part of the elect. Is that true?
Exactly. They want to join the elite. They'd like to look down on their fellow man.
Okay. But now, if nobody coerced you, nobody proselytized you, how did you get into the lodge?
I went to the door and I knocked on it.
It's time for our break, folks. Don't go away. I'll be right back after this very short pause. Hello, folks. This is William Cooper once again for Swiss America Trading, our sponsor. You know, if it wasn't for Swiss America Trading, you wouldn't be listening to this program right now. In fact, nobody would. We wouldn't be on the air. We wouldn't even have known about this station. You see, we're not radio people. We're information junkies. We have the largest intelligence gathering operation under civilian control in the world. We don't tell anybody what to do. We don't hold any meetings. We don't march around with guns. We don't care if anybody has guns or not. We just collect information and disseminate it to people, put the puzzle together to try to wake up the sheeple of the world so that we can save the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, and freedom for all peoples all over the world. That is our function. The people of Swiss America Trading are just like us. They care about this country. They care about freedom. They want to survive what's coming. Now, if we all wake up, nothing bad ever has to happen to anybody. But look around, folks. What do you see out there? I'll tell you what I see. I see a great herd of sheeple marching to the slaughter. And on the way there, they always get sheared, don't they? Well, you know, if you'd called Swiss America Trading in order to find a way to protect your assets against what's coming, that will mostly be brought about by the abdication, ignorance, irresponsibility, and stupidity of this great herd of sheeple, if you had called Swiss America Trading when they first began to sponsor us, and it wasn't very long ago, folks, believe me. In fact, just in the last 3 weeks, whoever has made an investment in gold through Swiss America Trading has already realized an 11% profit in 3 weeks. The people who made some other investments with Swiss American Trading have realized a 30% profit since they began sponsoring this program. What's happening in the world today confirms my predictions that I have given you. And remember, I was accurate to the month when this recession would start. I told you that it would advance into a depression, which we are in now, and that by the third quarter of 1993, we would be in serious trouble. No world leader has emerged in Bill Clinton. The financial markets of the world are shaky. The international banking community is scared. And to prove that, we're making this broadcast, we're recording it actually on the 12th of May, folks. And the Bundesbank has just lowered the interest rates once again. All-time lows. Nobody has ever seen anything like this before. It is a vote of no confidence. Why? Well, if you were to translate it into bonds, you could say there was a Bush bond that would have realized 0% interest, a Quayle bond, which would have had no maturity, and a Clinton bond, which has no principles. So, folks, do it now. Call 1-800-289-2646. You've all asked me over and over again how to save your assets. The time to act is now. Call 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. Tell them that you listen to the Hour of the Time. Mention my name, William Cooper, and they will send you a free newsletter. It doesn't cost you a penny, chock full of information that you need to know. Call now. Don't delay. Call now, folks. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. In protecting yourself, you are helping to save this program, The Hour of the Time, freedom for the world, and hopefully we can all march into the future with a good future for our children and grandchildren. If we don't all wake up, that's not going to happen. And if you don't call Swiss America Trading, you're not going to be able to protect your assets. So do it now. 1-800-289-2646. And you'll be glad that you did. We're back in the studio, folks, with William Morgan, a CAGI member who has infiltrated the lodge. Now, this man is no dummy. You have to understand, within 2 years, he has risen from entered apprentice to 32nd degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite of the Southern Jurisdiction. Now, that's quite a distinction within the lodge, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it can be considered as such. It does get a measure of respect from those who never advance past the 3rd degree of Master Mason.
And what is the next step?
After the 32nd degree, there is publicly known only one more degree of Freemasonry, and that is the 33rd degree.
And you said publicly known. Does that mean that there's more?
More.
Do you know that for sure?
No, I do not. I do not know it for sure. I've heard there's a man by the name of Reverend Jim Shaw who was a he actually still is by Masonic law, who still is a 33rd degree Freemason. And when he became a 33rd degree, he knew another Mason who was going through the same ritual who said that he was going to advance even further because he had professed a support for the Luciferian doctrine that they preach.
So what you have just said, this is coming from your mouth, a 32nd degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite. You have just said, I didn't prompt you, I didn't ask you the question. In fact, you just surprised me because I was going to lead up to this, but you just said the Luciferian doctrine. Can you explain that?
I can explain that absolutely. Masons believe in light. It is a priority part of their entire ritual. Now, light to a Mason symbolizes knowledge and also intellect. And if you've paid attention to the Mystery School broadcast, you know who the patron god of intellect is. It is Lucifer. And in fact, his very name means the farrier or the bearer of light. Luce is Latin for light and fair for farrier. This is the true God of Freemasonry, and this is also, to my great shame, the God that I knelt at the altar before and swore my blood oaths to.
But when you did this, were you aware that you were swearing your blood oaths to Lucifer and not to the God of the Christian Bible?
Absolutely not. Everything about Masonry says and publicly says that their God is the same God as any God, the God of Hindus, the God of Arab, the God of Christians. But it's just not so. It's a lie and it's a scam, and all you have to do is study paganism, nature worship, and the mystery religions of Babylon to see who that real God is.
So you have done this study on your own, and you've checked out the publications and the doctrines and the symbology within your own lodge, and you've arrived at the conclusion that the God of Freemasonry is who?
The God of Freemasonry is Lucifer, who is actually Satan, cast from heaven for one specific reason, and that is because he, like many other Masons, sought to attain godhood in his own time.
And isn't that really the goal of Freemasonry, is by their works they will become God?
Exactly. It is a matter of works. Salvation has nothing to do with it. There is no repentance of sin, and in their minds, mankind was never separated from God, but is able to be an equal to or superior to God.
Now, mind you, folks, I sincerely believe in the Constitution of the United States of America. This is not a religious program, irregardless of what you may think you are hearing. And I'm not making judgment on any of this whatsoever. I believe that anyone has the right, under our Constitution, to worship at any altar that they wish to worship at. I do not agree with this Luciferian doctrine. I do not worship at that altar. The only thing that bothers me in the performance of their religion is that they are attempting to control and manipulate the rest of us into a one-world totalitarian socialist government with a one-world religion that we will all have to bow down to, with Lucifer or Satan as the head of that religion, actually incarnated in a human body, they intend to install Lucifer upon the throne of the world. Have you found any credence for this?
I found great credence for this, and the best place to go to confirm this is just pick up the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. He himself will state, number one, that Masonry is a religion, and number two, that Lucifer is involved. That is all I needed to confirm my suspicions, and it should be all that is needed to confirm the suspicions of all the other Masons that are out there wandering in darkness, thinking that they are living in illumination.
So most Freemasons, do they really believe that Freemasonry is a Christian organization?
No, they really don't. They may themselves be Christians, and most in America are. But it is a strict rule and law of the lodge written into their own constitutions that no discussions or debates concerning religion or politics ever be brought into the lodge. They do not want your Christianity broadcast. They do not want it mentioned at all. In fact, I have a personal friend of mine who is a police officer in the lodge of which I'm a member. And when he was asked in whom he put his trust, he said the Lord Jesus Christ. And from that day forward, even though he's a law enforcement officer and vitally important to the New World Order, he has been ostracized. And he has been left out of many of the activities that got me to where I am in the craft today. And I do not think that he will be even allowed to progress any farther because of that.
In fact, I think you told me the other night that that was the first time that you had ever heard the name of Jesus Christ mentioned in that lodge ever. And is that true?
Absolutely. Or any other lodge, or any Masonic publication, or any writing, or even any words out of another Freemason's mouth. It is just not part of their vocabulary. In fact, I have very firm beliefs that the name itself brings actual pain to their ears.
Now, we know that the lodge will welcome anyone who attends any church, synagogue, temple, cathedral, belongs to any religion whatsoever. But we know that Freemasonry is a religion because we've studied it, and we have people like you who are a Freemason at a very high degree and have confirmed it, and their own writing confirms it. Albert Pike has stated it in writing in his book Morals and Dogma, and in others of his writings, I might add. And Manly P. Hall has confirmed that. So if Freemasonry is a religion, yet they accept members, people who go to other churches in the community, in many different religions that have doctrines that don't agree at all, how can they rectify that? I mean, how can you explain this? How can this be?
It just is. And any Mason that holds his religious convictions dear and becomes a member of the lodge is in direct conflict with his own beliefs and his own faith. The two cannot go together, have never been able to go together, and I don't think they ever will be. And I'd like to ask I'd just like to tell all of my brothers in the lodges out there, how can you possibly believe that Freemasonry is not a religion? You meet in a Masonic temple, you knelt at a Masonic altar with the Holy Bible, or in other countries, a different holy book, the Quran or many other texts. You knelt there and swore your blood oaths in the name of a deity, and quiet respect is demanded in any and all lodges all over the world, just like in any temple. You have been living a lie, and if you don't wake up pretty soon, the New World Order will turn around and eat your lunch for you.
Isn't it a fact that they believe they're going to be an integral part of this New World Order, however most of them really will not be?
This is the great joke. This is the punchline to the whole affair. They believe and see themselves as the priest and the priesthood of the New World Order. They think that when all things start falling apart, that they are going to be the ones that rise up phoenix-like out of the ashes, bring the world together, and deliver them into the hands of Lucifer. Like I said, they consider themselves builders, and what they're building is the New World Order, and it's being erected like a prison around us even as we speak. And the capstone, and you ought to take a look at the Great Seal of the United States to get a feel for this. The capstone of the New World Order, of the building that they're creating, is actually Lucifer himself.
And isn't that the symbol of Lucifer, the all-seeing eye above the pyramid, the symbol of light. It actually began as the symbol of the sun, which was the symbol of the light, which was the symbol for Lucifer. And over the years, it evolved into an eye. Christians are told that that is the eye of God, but nobody ever bothers to ask which God or who. What's the name of this God? And if a Muslim were to ask in the Middle East, they would say it's the eye of God, and they would think that it was the eye of Allah. And in the Far East, somebody might think it was the eye of Buddha. But this is never explained. In effect, it really began representing the sun. It became the eye. The sun has always been the representation of wisdom or the intellect or knowledge, which is all the Luciferian doctrine. It is the symbol for the light, Lucifer, the fallen angel, the Luciferian philosophy.
These are facts. This is just the way it is. I'm holding in my hand this very moment a official Masonic medallion that is handed out to many Masons as a gift, especially at entered apprentices. At the very top and taking up the main position in this medallion is the all-seeing eye. And this eye is, just as Bill Cooper has said, a combination of the eye of quote-unquote God, and I stress that quote-unquote more than any other, and also it is the sun. It is a symbol of sun worship. The eye that I'm seeing, the lashes on the eye on this medallion that I'm holding are actually the rays of the sun coming down to illuminate the fellow Masons. It is more than just a religion, as Albert Pike has professed. It is the oldest known religion. It is a pagan religion of sun worship. It is nature worship, and it is incredibly dangerous to free-loving people everywhere.
You wanted to read something from a book that you have there. This is a book that I highly recommend that everybody in the listening audience must read this book. You must read this book. You can find it at most religious bookstores, Christian or otherwise. They usually stock it. It's called The God Makers by Ed Decker and Dave Hunt. And let me see who the publishers are. Harvest House Publishers, Eugene, Oregon, 97402. That's Harvest House Publishers, Eugene, Oregon, 97402. Again, the name of the book is The God Makers by Ed Decker and Dave Hunt. This book truly will open your eyes. You wanted to read something from that book.
Yes, sir. I was reading this last night, and it just stopped me in my tracks. I'm at page 60 of The God Makers, and the chapter entitled The Mormon Dilemma. And this book is about the Mormons, and once you begin reading it, you'll see through the mystery schools just how close Freemasonry and Mormonism actually is. The subtitle of this part is called The Pagan Connection Again. I'll read it quickly. As C.S. Lewis and a number of other experts have concluded, there are only two religions in the world, Christianity and Hinduism, or paganism. One teaches that we are separated from the one true God by sin, and that God became a man to die for our sins. The other declares that men are not separated from God, but that each person has within himself the power to overcome evil and thus to become God, or at least a God with a small g. Hinduism, or paganism, embraces and absorbs everything except biblical Christianity, which is its only genuine rival. Although it uses Christian language to disguise its paganism, just as many Masonic lodges do, Mormonism is less Christian than it is Hindu. The basic dilemma faced by every Mormon is a direct result of its Hindu roots. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna declares that he comes forth to save the righteous and to condemn the sinners. This is exactly the opposite for the biblical Christ, who came to save sinners. The great complaint of paganism and all occult secret societies, of which I am presently a member, is that whereas one must be worthy to join them, Christianity deliberately embraces the unworthy. And to prove my worthiness to join the lodge, I had to go ask them to become a member. At the time that I joined, it was against the Constitution's bylaw, the Constitution of Masonry, I should stress, for any Mason to come to me, a profane, and ask me to join.
And in effect, actually, isn't the Mormon Church just another branch of the old mystery religion of Babylon?
It can be nothing else. They have 3 degrees. They have ritual that they adhere to. They are sworn to secrecy with blood oaths inside of a temple. They have a structural hierarchy that is in the structure of a pyramid, and all those that are initiated into this temple ritual seek nothing else but to climb the pyramid. The reward, the carrot that is dangled in front of their nose to keep them working hard, is that they will experience and attain godhood for themselves.
And many of the rituals that are practiced in the temple are the exact same rituals that are practiced in the Masonic temple.
I cannot personally confirm this, but the research that I am involved in at this time supports this, and also the research of experts who are far better and far more along in their work than I am totally supports this claim, and you should verify it for yourself.
Absolutely. You know, the warning that we always give on this show: don't believe anything that you hear on this show or any other show or from the president or Dan Rather or anyone until you check it out yourself. One thing that I also want to make clear, that we have nothing against anyone. We have nothing against people who want to worship in the Mormon religion or the Catholic religion or go to a temple and worship Buddha. We believe in the Constitution, but we also believe that everyone should know what they're getting into. We also believe that if these people are involved in subverting the freedoms of others and bringing about a one-world totalitarian socialist government, which we have confirmed that they are, then it is our business and our duty to stop them.
Bingo, Bill, and you've hit upon something that is a catch-22 for all Masons. Part of the blood oath says that you can never, and you must swear this on penalty of very painful and bloody death, that you will never, ever release any of the secrets of Masonry to a member of the profane, to somebody out there in the big world. But when you become a Mason, and as I did, I always ask questions wherever I go. I asked some hard questions, and I got nothing. There were no answers forthcoming. They looked me straight in the eye, and they said, I can't tell you.
How do you rectify what you're doing on this show with the oaths that you took saying that you can't do this?
Well, we've discussed this, and I have had some personal dilemmas that I've had to face, but I genuinely believe that when they do not tell me the whole truth about what I'm getting into, in fact, when they deliberately mislead me and deceive me about what I'm getting into, that must totally invalidate the contract or the oath of which I've sworn. It just cannot be any other way. They have lied, and I have been honest, and I have been forthcoming to them, but they have not returned it as such.
And I found myself in the same position, folks, because when I was in the military, and specifically with the Office of Naval Intelligence, I had to sign security oaths saying that I would never talk about anything that I was involved with. But later, when I began to realize that I was going to have to, I also understood that the only things that I would talk about were those things that the intelligence community, the military, those in the government were doing to destroy the sovereignty of the United States of America, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and to bring about really a traitorous new government, the New World Order, and that I was not going to be involved in any traitorous activity. And my first and only loyalty was to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States, and not to some phony manipulation called a security oath, which many people are trapped under, thinking that they cannot talk about many of the things they participated in that are actually destroying this nation, destroying the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. These people are traitors, and I could not be a traitor, nor will I ever be. What do you feel about this new world order that's coming?
It makes me want to vomit. You're absolutely right. They are traitors. They have turned their backs on their people. They have turned their backs on their country. They have turned their backs on their family. They are living a lie, and it's not going to turn out exactly how they think. They are like the cops, the police officers in America that are deliberately destroying the Constitution and treating their own people as an enemy. They can't be a cop forever. Neither can you be a practicing Mason forever. One day, that protection that you cherish so much must end, and when it does, it will turn around and it will gobble you up like it's gobbling up so many other people right now.
Well, not only that, but many Americans are waking up. The patriots in this country, the people who really understand and love the Constitution and Bill of Rights, are going to have an awful lot to say about what's happening. And of course, there are other people like me, like you. We have the largest civilian intelligence gathering organization in the world, operating full time, breaking this secrecy down, bringing together the truth. And now we're running out of time for another episode of the Hour of the Time, folks. I want you to remember, we love you, we care about you, or we wouldn't be doing this. Good night.
I hated that, for the record.
Hated it? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I hated it, but I take criticism well, kind of. Not at all. But I
I
try.
do, yeah, I do have a couple of notes myself too. So yeah.
So the I so here's my problem with taking notes. So I'm looking at my notes and I can't read what the hell I wrote. Like maybe I'll take them on the computer next time, but my handwriting is so just absolutely dog shit that I can't read my notes. Like there's no chance. Um so the one thing I did kind of find interesting was the fact that he said something to the effect of uh, men want to be above other men, even if it means, like when he was talking
Mhm.
about the black race and how some of them still subscribe, and then even though they know it's harmful to the rest of their race or group or whatever, of course they do. Of course they do.
Mhm.
Everybody wants power above all. They want
Yeah.
to, and I think that's pretty universal across the board. I think that some people have obviously more or endeavor more to uh, be involved in those kind of things, but I think for the most part, everybody is pretty consistent that if they have an option, they don't care about everybody else. They're going to do what's best for them, and sometimes that's not a bad thing. I mean, sometimes that's not a bad thing to put yourself above a group.
Mhm.
I think we'd be better off generally if we didn't belong to so many damn groups. I hate
Yep.
the. I've never, and I can say this with absolute certainty. I've never excluded or included somebody because of their race, gender, anything. And I think that's very apparent by the company that I kind of keep and the people that come around. I don't really care. You're either a good person or you're shit. And I think if we weren't so tribalistic, things would be better. So that
Mhm.
kind of piqued my interest. So
Well, we've got to remember too, these are men in their 40s, mid 40s. Call them, yeah, men my age, but in 1993.
mhm,
And what they're talking about is a secret society that has been working for hundreds of years at this point, um, to control the world. So from their perspective, from the world's perspective back then, um, it's a lot more likely. I mean, in
yeah,
'93, I was early teens. Graduated. I was 16 in '97. So,
okay,
I'm still a young teenager at this time.
mhm,
Um, and I didn't know color. I didn't know, like I didn't pay attention to that. It wasn't a problem. I liked you for you, or I didn't like you for you. It was pretty easy.
right,
Um, but my parents grew up knowing people who were still racist. Um,
mm,
at just as a general understanding that everyone agrees with their racist beliefs, sort of thing, right? So their parents, their grandparents, it was still a thing, and so I'm not surprised that in '93, in a secret society, um, racism would be an issue.
right,
I can totally
right.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I certainly can. And AP, don't give two shits about your race, gender, or sexual orientation. Only thing that matters is that you aren't a shitbag. Yeah, and
Exactly.
I mean that's pretty much where I don't really care. I really truly do not care what you are. You're either a good person or you're not. And you're either somebody that I want to associate with and be around and all that kind of stuff, or you're not. And it's
Mhm.
I mean I've met just as many shit white people as I have shit black people, or shit Asian people. I don't know that many Asian people, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that there's a huge need uh for the racism piece of it. But again, 93 is, yeah, I mean, I could see that as I was
These are people
5.
who these guys. Well, I don't know about the other guy, but I know that Cooper did a few tours in Vietnam. He was Air Force in Korea, I think, and then
Okay.
which one happened first? Oh, see, and here comes my brain. But he either did 2 tours in Vietnam or he did one in the war previous to that, which I think was the Korean, and then
Okay.
he did the Vietnam.
Okay.
So in that era, racism was fully a thing. I mean, in the American Army, black soldiers were maybe being treated the same as the white soldiers when they're fighting, but as they came back to the country, came back home, they were being confronted with racism still. So it's not such a surprise, I think, for myself that guys that lived through those times would still consider racism to be a determining factor, I guess.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday, AP. You're old as fuck. Once you hit 40, it's all downhill from there. So, but happy belated birthday, my friend. I agree with Chief. When I AP.
AP, you got to remember, I turned 45 on the 21st, so I'm older than you are.
Now, so cheesy poof, I'm gonna share something because I think it's important. We're having a conversation, and this kind of goes towards some of the themes in there, but not particularly with the groups, and the lack of masculinity. I think that's a group I don't want anything to do with. We had a really in-depth conversation, and Cheesy and I, and it was a great conversation. It really was. But it I think it was interesting to have that conversation. And it's kind of the why that all ties back in is there kind of is this force. So of course we went on all these different topics, and there's this force agreement that everybody has to kind of meld, and everybody has to, and people have different, even if we're talking past color, let's just talk about white people, because I mean that's probably the most knowledge that I have.
Well, probably the safest for the two of us to be discussing.
Right. So we could go red, but I was thinking about you. So so let's talk about white people. I mean, there are numerous groups inside of white people. Not all white people are the same. Not all any color are the same, and there's so many diverse and distinct groups that make up the overarching delegation of white people. I mean, you can break it down in so many different ways. You can break it down to geographical location, sports teams. I mean, different orientations, different. I mean, there's just so many different factors that go into it. That
just like Asian means all Asians, not just a specific, like a Chinese or a Japanese or a what have you. White includes a lot of, we've got people from Norway or people from Europe. I see what you're saying. Like, it's not just white people isn't just one group.
Yeah.
we've all kind of melded in, and I think it was in the probably in the late 70s, early 80s is when we all started really blending in Western society, I think.
Yeah. Hippies and free
Yeah.
love and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, the 60s and the fun, and
Yeah.
before there
And-
were STDs.
No, I think there were still STDs. I think people just didn't like. It's one of those things where you can't just be like, nah, we didn't know about it, so they don't exist.
They didn't
Like, they
exist. Yeah,
probably
no, I
exist.
know. But that's
So-
one of their favorite claims is all that free love, and it was fine because there weren't any STDs back then.
Right. Right. I mean, I could see that. I could certainly see that.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
know they're talking out their ass, but it's a nice thought.
Yeah. So I mean, so again, you come down to the fact that we're sitting here talking about this, and I think racism anymore is a grift. I don't think that, and again, you have to go back to 93, and there's probably a little bit more of a prevalence of it, but I think it's basically a grift at this point. There's no racism is very few and far between at this point.
There,
We don't
yeah,
see
in
it.
modern day, in 2024, as much as they like to push it, I don't
Mhm.
think it really exists like they're trying to say it does.
Right.
Yeah, but I think being secret society, there's always going to be people who can get in and people who aren't good enough.
Yeah.
So whether they were deciding it on like he said, religion was another thing. As soon as you declared for a god, as he was reading from that book, he was describing the differences with like Christians and Mormons and Hindus and Buddha. And I think at the end of the day, when you're in a society or a group of people, secret or not, there's always going to be a hierarchy. And I think they were just describing the hierarchy as it stood, for them. Because I mean, this guy has infiltrated for the last 3 years. So we're talking 1990 through 93. And the Masons have been around for much, much longer than that. So
Right.
I'm pretty sure there's a hierarchy that includes color, skin tone and as well.
Well,
I'm
and
not
then
surprised.
yeah, and then you go back to something like just follow me on this one. You go back to something like the Constitution, and all men are created equal. So, like, there has to be, like, racism didn't even seem to be an issue then, and I understand that there was racism. I'm not trying to say there wasn't, but these people probably had some impact on writing that Constitution, or some kind of impact on that kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure.
And that rolls me into this bad boy. I'm getting good at this. Damn it, it moved. Looking to help the next generation understand the famed U.S. Constitution in this new 100-page graphic novel from the U.S. Comics. You can find in comic book format the U.S. Constitution explained amendment by amendment, like shall not be infringed. Stunning graphic novel delves into issues going into each amendment, as well as controversial issues of today. Top comic artists from U.S. Comics created graphic novel that is a must-have for every classroom. Weird. Homeschool, as well as every American family. Learn about the factors leading up to the establishment of the Bill of Rights, and that all men should be created equal. The Virginia Plan, states' rights, which we don't follow anymore, and how each amendment protects our freedoms and liberties. Find this at uscomics.com.
That's actually a really good idea.
I'm getting professional at this.
You're doing really
throw that
good.
in.
Yeah, no,
I'm a real fucking Ben Shapiro.
your segues are getting classier every single time. But to be honest, that kind of sounds like an interesting graphic novel to have. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I thought it was kind of cool. It's been sitting there in the queue, and I was like, I want to get this in at some point because I think it's actually kind of cool. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it's really neat.
but
And I mean,
but
it would
yeah,
help people like me who need pictures sometimes to make things understood.
well, yeah. I mean, and and then you can combine it, and you can be like, I don't understand how gun rights exist or gun laws exist because it says very clearly shall not be infringed. Like
Hmm.
that's so like something like that. Like how are gun laws here? And there is going to be a gun ban. It's probably going to be another assault rifle weapons ban. That's going to be coming down the pike here too. I would be
Before the
very
election?
surprised. I don't know if it's going. I assume it's going to be. I think it's going to be Biden doing it, but I think it's
Okay.
going to be after Kamala wins but before she takes office.
Okay. So they can pin that last piss off of the citizens on him too.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to immediately fuck over Kamala.
Yeah.
So she does well enough on that on her own, but um,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I know there was a couple of things. I noticed someone had said, oh, let me go back here. Um, the oldest religion is from the Mesopotamian paganism. That's AP. So as the oldest civilization, is this guy saying the Babylonians are older? There's a 1600-year gap from the Sumerians and the Babylonians. I'm going to take your word for it because me and numbers, if I'm not looking at it on a chart in front of me, they kind of dance around. But from my understanding, Mesopotamian, that's what rolled into Babylonia, right? Mesopotamia, is that not like ancient Egypt and and before times? Like, I guess you're looking at it from an evolutionary point of view. I'm not
yeah.
sure. Um,
The
'Cause, yeah,
timeline would be interesting, and I certainly want to look up the timeline of formation as opposed to other things because I've always had the question about how do we know that this isn't correct? Like if they all came at the same general time frame, then maybe this is the correct way, the righteous way, the actual way that we should be conducting business, and maybe we're just wrong. And I know that you have a pretty strong rebuttal to that, but it'd be very interesting to see how these timelines line up. So
mhm. Well, yeah, because from a creation perspective, um, this mystery Babylon religion, um, in my understanding, would have probably begun when Lucifer got Eve to eat the apple, and she got Adam to. So right back then, it would have gone through. I think Cain would have carried it on because he took some sisters and he disappeared and did his own thing, and grew humanity that route, while Adam and Eve had Seth and grew humanity through that line. Um, I know that, again, the flood would have happened, and that takes us back to strictly Noah and his family. Um, I can only think that because Lucifer was already there on Earth, that he would have, gotten into someone's ear there. I honestly, I don't know. I haven't thought that one through enough to how it would have come post flood. Um, but I mean, like I said, if Satan's been stuck on Earth with a third of his angels for all this time, I'm sure he can cause trouble for get more people to follow him. I've really got to think on that. That being said, when it comes to like Mesopotamia, um, I'm thinking that would have been, you know, when everything was settling post Noah's family, getting off the ark, but before Babylon. So I don't know. Maybe he's just looking. Maybe Bill himself is just looking at it from Babylon, because that's when they tried to build the tower, and God got mad and tore them apart and gave them all different languages. But again, I'm not an expert. I still consider myself, I guess I'd be a toddler Christian now. I don't think I'm a baby Christian, but I'm still just learning. So, yeah, his timeline may be off. I'm not sure.
Okay, so if you type in Google, when did the mystery Babylon religion began? It
I'm
says,
sorry.
I
Yeah.
said if you type into Google, when did the mystery Babylon religion begin?
Okay.
It says the thought that Babylon mystery religion goes back a long time is truly a myth. It is from a book that was first published in 1966 and reprinted in 1981. It's loosely based on the Catholic Church, if I can read, and is based on, or is a spin-off basically of Alexander Hislop's book, The Two Babylons.
Ooh.
So it
Yeah,
says
it's a good book.
So Google says it doesn't even exist. It's just somebody wrote something in 1966, but that doesn't jive with everything else. So I was just curious. So I was looking up when people said it kind of began, but obviously I don't think it was 1966.
No,
So.
I think it would probably have been around a lot longer than that. I'm looking it up, the timeline. Mesopotamia had already been around for quite a long time before Babylon was built up, like the city of.
Okay.
The Sumerian civilization emerged in the region in 5400 BC. And the Akkadian speakers, who would go on to form Akkad, Assyria, and Babylonia, appearing somewhere between the 35th and the 30th century BC. So Mesopotamia, in the timeline, they were a people before Babylon, but that's not really in argument. So
Right.
I think he's just pinpointing it from Babylon from his biblical perspective. Like I said, I mean, Babylon's a great point, but it had to have come from before then, right? Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. So from all of my research, the only thing that makes logical sense to me is that it came through Cain. And it continued on through humanity through Cain. But then, like I said, I haven't quite figured out how it would have made it with Noah and his family, his sons, once the flood happened. I don't know.
Okay, so here may be the dumbest question I've ever asked, but I don't understand, so I'm gonna ask it anyways.
Okay.
So BC is before Christ, so anything before BC. So we're talking about thousands of years before Christ. We had Mystery Babylon, but we didn't have. Did we have other religions before Christ? Because we didn't have religion till like the three majors: the Buddhism, Christian, not Christian. You know what I mean? Like the major religions. We didn't have major religions till after Christ, right? Like
no, there
AD?
were already other religions. because like Jesus himself was a Jew, but they
True. Okay.
were worshiping. I mean, we have the ancient Greeks, we have um, the ancient Egyptians. All sorts of different gods were being worshipped before
Okay.
Jesus ever walked the earth. So um, I think they're all offshoots at the end of the day of the two. You either believe in Lord God, the one true living God, um, or you believe in something that, if you follow it back far enough, leads you to Satan, to the devil. So whether it's you are worshiping him, or whether you think you're going to become a god like him, um, that's I don't know, but I think that's where the two originally stem from.
Okay. Wasn't or isn't the Bible, and I truly don't know,
Mhm.
isn't the Bible the stories of Jesus's time on earth? So what was it before it was, if
Well,
he wasn't here?
if you ever heard like the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Old Testament is everything pre-Jesus. So the New
Okay.
Testament is um, the disciples describing their from their perspective, Jesus's time on earth, his coming, his dying, his raising again, and all of that. That's New Testament. The Old Testament, there's some discussion as to how many books belong in there, but it comes back to the Torah, and
Okay.
then some other books that are, contested, I guess. But the Torah would be the Old Testament.
Okay.
And that's just the only reason we don't necessarily have um, records of something before that is just because we're going back far enough that we're getting to a time when there wasn't writing, when we were still sharing our history word of mouth. I mean, even the Native Americans were sharing history word of mouth when people started showing up here and
Right.
discovering North America, right? So um, history has always been a telling of the story of us, um, and it's just a little more recently people started writing it down. So
Okay. Hmm.
yeah, Hindu is thousands of years older than Christianity. Um, for sure. See, and again, um, that's another offshoot. And I am of the opinion that many different religions who claim different gods are all actually praying to the same one true living God, just different um, by different names or with different understandings. Um, I mean, when the Tower of Babel was knocked down and we were spread across the earth and we were made to speak different languages, a lot of stuff was lost, but we all still had the same base knowledge, but then it grew from there. So I believe a lot of the different religions are starting with that base same God, but their understandings, their beliefs in him have changed over all the
Right.
time.
Okay. Um, Light Rain. No,
Oh,
so there was some criticism that we don't talk as much during the episode. So we
yeah.
haven't been we didn't respond like we generally would. So we're trying something new. So
Yes, we're going to try
that's why.
and like talk and catch up at the beginning, but then we're going to let the show play
Mm.
because apparently, yeah, we our discussions aren't necessarily appreciated right in the middle of the shows. So we
That's
do
not
it
too
now.
bad.
But I did see your comment much earlier I think when you were first coming in, you were being smartass because Mighty was criticizing Cooper. And yeah, I know I speak like I do believe a lot of this stuff. A lot of the stuff makes sense with all the different things that I've learned over my life. But I don't take Bill Cooper as the only source, and I don't take everything he says as gospel. I'm trying to find any other word than gospel to use, but I couldn't. But yeah, no, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he has to say or that he believes. But I do agree with a lot of what he has been able to discover about the secret societies, by whatever name you want to call it. And like I said, I do believe it started long before Babylon happened, before the great city was ever created. I think that's just the name that he landed on, probably because he's thinking biblically and the Tower of Babel in Babylon. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I think he's stuck there. But I don't think everything he's saying is right. I don't. Yeah, I don't agree with everything, especially when we move more into his other works, which I will be doing tomorrow morning. See the segue I just did there? Haha. Tomorrow morning, 11 my time, so 2 p.m. for you Eastern Standard Time peoples. I will be doing a live stream. I'm going to read Bill Cooper's book because I've never read it. Behold a Pale Horse. I'm going to read it cover to cover, and we are going to discuss. So yeah, if you're bored around 2 p.m., please come and join me, keep me company in chat so I'm not feeling, completely ridiculous. But yeah, once I start reading that book, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more stuff that I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
I just think he's got a lot of research and a lot of people doing a lot of research into this subject, and I agree with a lot of what they've come up with.
Yeah, no, it should be interesting, and I'm excited to hear you read it. So
I see you. What's the apple for the prettiest one? I cannot get any points because I have no idea who the original e-girl was. So, but I see your message now.
why would you want to know who the original e-girl is?
I'm not sure.
So, just because it just happened, I don't know if anybody's been watching the Ashley Benefield trial, but she was found guilty of manslaughter up to 30 years.
And now I've seen her name all over the place. What was she accused of? What was the case?
Her husband was allegedly abusive, and she killed him. And
okay. Him. She's the one
ballerina.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't figure out which one she belonged to. I knew she was, so one of them. But there were so many beautiful women murdering or allegedly, potentially murdering their partners in that time.
I'm not saying Cooper's premise is wrong. Just his timeline is making my OCD twitch. Yeah, there's some significant timeline issues that I'd like to get figured out. So I'm gonna try and do some work this week and see if I can't figure something out. But yeah, other than that, I think some of his themes, some of the things going on are fantastic. I just think that there are some things that I know are provably false when he was talking about I think he was talking about space flight and the moon. Like I that's my wheelhouse. I know that's provably false. but other things I very much enjoyed. The timeline is a question for me, and we'll and this is just part one of this interview. The next 2 episodes are also part of this interview. So
yeah.
So we'll go a little bit more in depth with this. When you're, well, I'll let you go through some of your points if you like.
Well, I think that was basically it.
Okay.
Because yeah, the timeline was the thing with me, and like I said, I've reasoned it back to the point of right up to the flood, but I'm not sure how it managed to come up. But again, at the end of the day, I believe that whatever you want to call this, by whatever religion or secret society or what have you, I think it comes back to the devil. You know, this is his playground. He can no longer leave it, and he's going to do as much as he can while he can. So I'm not, I'm not surprised it made its way back.
Right. I think that there's some indication. I'm going to bring up, what is he my third favorite Brit? I forget. Like, there's a list somewhere. He's on the list. But he is all but convinced me, and I don't know if he intended to do this, but by our conversations, he has all but convinced me that there were humans here before this current crop. Again, he can correct me if I'm wrong. He will. Trust me. But that's what
He'll be watching tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll watch it in the morning. I'll get comments. It's I think that's the one thing I've taken away from conversation with him, and I think it's inadvertent. I don't think that he's attempted to make me believe that, but he has. He certainly has. I'm convinced that there were advanced civilizations. There was a whole nother crop of people here prior to us. So I don't know where that all plays into it too, because I gotta figure out that. I gotta figure out that timeline as well.
I've got a documentary. We should set a time and do a watch party in your Discord, because it explains my understanding of the beginning of the world, and it explains how the flood happened and why the world looks the way it looks now. And how that proves the flood. It's the best way I've ever found of explaining how I feel things worked. So, and there's most definitely, you're right, there's most definitely was advanced civilizations before this crop came around, for sure.
And there's evidence there was. And I'm an evidence-based person. I think that's why religion is so hard for me to grasp. But I've always been an evidence-based person, and one of the things that I've noticed from putting this together is that there seems to have been another advanced civilization, and I think with reasonable degree of certainty that they probably nuked themselves off the face of the planet. I know that's weird to say, but there's some significant evidence to point in that direction.
See, and I would say it would be a flood that did it, but Yeah,
I mean, we can differ. We can have different
sources,
opinions,
but the same end result. Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, so there's one more thing that I wanted to kind of touch on, and then but one thing that I've noticed from studying the Mason part of it, and I'd also like the further you get in the Masons. Kind of the more, I'm trying to find a way to explain this, the more messy that divorce of the two people are. So it seems to get very uncomfortable and very there's a lot of anger, spite, vitriol, hate when somebody separates from the Masons. Not on the part of the Masons, because they never comment, but the people that leave, like there's never like, hey, we had a difference of opinion, I split. It's always there's always a very angry tone to it. And I think that's some of this guy too, is it just seems like there's nobody leaves and is happy. Like they leave and they seem pretty pissed off. So
yeah, which is strange. People leave groups all the time without the vitriol that's this guy is spouting.
Right.
He's he is very angry at the group. And I found it, I mean, just like we were saying, grain of salting things. Something that bothered me was how on earth does he manage to work his way to the 32nd degree in 3 years?
Right.
Like, how does he know how, how does he just know which questions to ask and which answers to say in order to get up to the highest level of masonry there is, other than 33rd, which is basically just an honorary, from my understanding. I'm talking out my ass, allegedly. Got to throw that in occasionally too. But yeah, it's very, very odd for me that someone could go that deep into the group in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. It seems like it's it doesn't seem like the way that things normally progress. You wish floods could put us down. I float, dumbass. Ain't nobody got time for that. Drowning in no flood. I added some
the sass
melanin to your comment, Light Rain.
You can come and watch it. Watch the documentary too. It's quite cool to see what I've reasoned out in my own mind ages ago. It's cool to see it happening in 4D and have it just explained by professionals. So before you
enter Discord, and we'll have this conversation later when we do it, but before you enter the Discord, Cheese is in there.
Yes.
And he's free to say whatever he wants.
Cheese and I have brilliant conversations.
I do not censor anything at all.
Yeah.
So it is pretty fucking terrifying in there for somebody who's not well adjusted. So
yeah, you've got to be able to look at things from multiple perspectives, or at least allow other people to have different perspectives. Otherwise, don't bother.
Right. It is not a safe space.
Yeah.
It is not a safe space. You will see things that are interesting. Say that, but yeah, no. No, I mean, I thought it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to the next two parts of the interview. What time are you doing your thing?
I've decided I will go at 11 a.m. my time, which is 2 p.m. your time.
2 p.m.
On Wednesday mornings. That'll be, it'll kind of roll in with this, while still I'm not going to be tromping all over this, but
right.
Then we can get to know Bill Cooper a little bit better, go through his book and see what he has. So he touches on a lot of stuff.
Cheese
Did I die?
Oh, I saw that one too. Cheese doesn't have conversations with me. He just calls me.
Yep.
Again, I don't censor anyone, and to include cheese, ever.
Yeah. Oh my
Like
goodness, I just saw Crystal. I got a note there was
What's
a
up,
special
Crystal?
guest. Hello, Crystal. How you doing, hon? Oh, it's good to see you. We were just talking actually. Crystal is the one who made me solidify exactly when I'd start streaming on Wednesday mornings because she is
Oh.
in South Africa. So she and even Dance, it'll be at a time when they're, not just awake, but, functioning. So thank you, Crystal.
Oh shit! Dance is going to ask for an invite. You know that, right?
Well, I'm hoping, yeah.
gonna
It's not
spark
going to
one
be near as heavy on religion, because that's not really what he's about. Strictly, this was just one thing that he was very interested in. But yeah, I purposely did it so that it would be on during a time that certain people could actually be in chat if they wanted to.
Good
So,
deal.
yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, I know, Crystal. What's up? How you doing? But all right. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I'll leave you guys with this beautiful image because that's what's coming.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. As always, I appreciate you and awesome conversation. So
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
I always enjoy this.
And yeah, till next week we'll finish the we'll go into section 2 of the interview, and then we'll finish it the following week. So
all right.
All right, y'all have a good night, and I will talk to you later.
Bye.
Take care.